What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So before we get into obviously the NBA playoff talk, the USA basketball revealed their the 12 guys they're going to be bringing to the Paris Olympics this year. So these are the guys: Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, because he became an American citizen about a year or two ago. So he had a choice between his home country, I believe it was Nigeria or Cameroon, or play for the United States team. He chose the USA team. Devin Booker, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, and Anthony Davis. And then Kawhi Leonard was the last guy they named to lift that last spot open at first, and they ended up choosing Kawhi Leonard. Those are the 12 guys that are on the USA basketball team. So the team's pretty stacked. They should win gold. They've won gold, I believe, for at least 3 or 4 years in a row. You know, they won last year, though they weren't as dominant as usual, but they still were able to grab gold. So that's the USA Olympic team this year that will be going to Paris. And play-in started, obviously. We had the 7-8 games. Tuesday, the Lakers get past the Pelicans, 110 to 106. They sneak by. Lakers were up like 15 or so at one point. Pelicans came roaring back. It was back and forth like in that end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. Big game from Zion at 40 points and 11 rebounds. He got hurt in the fourth quarter, had to come out of the game and did not return. And the Lakers ended up taking it home. They win 110 to 106, so they will play the Denver Nuggets in the first round, a rematch of the Western Conference Finals last year, where Denver swept the Los Angeles Lakers. And then in the 9-10 matchup, that's right, they did the Western Conference and Eastern Conference on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then in the 9-10 matchup, Kings went right past the Warriors, 118 to 94. Was, Kings got off to a good start. Warriors kept it close at half, but then Kings really pulled away in that second half, especially in that third quarter. They blew out the Warriors by 24 points. And now in 32-9 for Keegan Murray, he had a big game. So the Warriors missed the playoffs. I think it's the first time in 14 years Chris Paul's actually missed the playoffs. And it might be time for some changes in Golden State. Klay Thompson was awful. Absolutely dreadful. He was 0 of 10 from the field. Did not score a single point. 0 of 10 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3. He's going to be a free agent. Draymond Green obviously was suspended for a total of almost 15 games here for a couple of really bad on-court incidents. Obviously, Stephen Curry is still great, but Chris Paul obviously isn't the same. Andrew Wiggins really didn't have a good year. It's hard to see the Warriors improving. I mean, look, they obviously had their run. They've had a nice little run these last bunch of years. Obviously, one of the greatest dynasties ever. They won, 4 championships in like an 8-year span. And last year we're able to win a playoffs here as a 6th seed. But this year, obviously, you lose in the play-in. This team is just old. What made them great, they don't do those things well anymore, really. Outside of Stephen Curry, there's really no legit for 3-point threat. Clay isn't nearly the same. Andrew Wiggins doesn't scare me from behind the 3-point line. They don't have the same depth that they used to. They're not as defensively as they once was. They used to have really, really good size. Don't really have that anymore. I like Kevon Looney. He's a great rebounder. Other than him, there isn't a ton of great size on his team. His team is old. Steph is obviously still great, still one of the best players in the league, still one of the 10 best players in the game. But he is, what is he, 35, 36 years old. Clay is around there. Draymond's around there. Obviously, Chris Paul is 37, 38 years old. Even Andrew Wiggins has got to be probably, he might be on the wrong side of 30 himself as well. But this team is just old. They've had a great run, but I think it's time that changes are made. To me, Clay's got to take a major pay cut if he wants to come back. I heard, rumors maybe Orlando might be looking at him. They got a lot of young guys. They apparently need a vet and the guy that can shoot. I've heard maybe the Lakers have maybe a shooter on the wing for LeBron and Anthony Davis. To be honest, I really don't know what he has left. He missed 2 straight years with torn Achilles, and he tore his Achilles, and then rehabbing from that, he tore his ACL. He missed 2 years of action. Hasn't been the same the last couple of years. But, obviously he wasn't horrible the last couple of years, still pretty good. But this year really didn't have a good year. At one point he was moved to the bench. I really don't know what he has left. Isn't a great defender anymore. Near the shooter that he once was. Obviously he's obviously slow. Like what made Clyde Cloud was ability to shoot the lights out, and he had the ability to guard the guys on the perimeter. When he can't shoot nearly what he once did anymore. Maybe once in a while he can go off for 6-7 threes and give you 25, 26 points. But he's doing that once in a while. Other than that, he's gonna have a lot more of those 1 for 10 shooting nights, like 0 for 10 shooting nights that you saw on Tuesday night. Then the nights where he goes off for 7 threes and 26 points. He doesn't really defend anymore. It's hard to see what he has left, if anything. But Kings move on. And then Wednesday, we have the Eastern Conference. Sixers get past the Heat, 105-104. Really good back and forth game. Embiid, 23 and 15. He actually struggled in the first 3 quarters. I think was just 3 of 12 in the first 3 quarters, but came out in the fourth quarter. Back and forth came the whole way. Sixers slipped past Miami, and they advanced to the playoffs. They will put the New York Knicks in the first round. And then the Bulls beat the Hawks 131-116. 42 for Kobe White, 42-9-6, a career night for Kobe White. And the Bulls move on, and they will play they advance to play the Heat and winner. That will be the 8th seed, obviously. So in the Western Conference, you got the Lakers playing. Well, they move on. It will be the Kings and Pelicans are facing off. The winner will be the 8th seed and will face the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round. The loser will be out. I'm taking Sacramento. Pelicans are kind of struggling down the stretch here. They really should have been a playoff team, and they're just not. Obviously they're not in the playoffs. You look at their roster. Oh yeah, this team should easily be on the 5 or 6 best teams in the West. But also they drop into the play-in. You lose to the Lakers. They're not going to have Zion for the game against Sacramento. It's going to be a huge loss for them. He obviously had a big game against the Lakers. He was an absolute menace in the paint. And now I think he would have been able to match up against Keegan Murray. At least a little bit, at least offensively. But now he's not going to be there. So I'm taking Sacramento. To me, they're an underrated team. Obviously, they didn't take the big stuff forward that we thought they possibly could have. I mean, they didn't really do anything in the offseason, but still, you have a really young team that last year was the 3 seed in the West. We thought maybe could possibly be the 2 seed in the West this year. You thought, I didn't think a lot of people didn't think the Oklahoma City would be. We thought they'd be a playoff team. Like I thought they'd be a playoff team, at least a play-in team. For sure, I don't think anyone thought they be competing for the top spot in the West, but behind Denver. A lot of people predicting they could be the second best team in the Western Conference. It didn't really happen the way that they dropped into the play-in, obviously. The West was really, really tough this year. But I think they're better than the Pelicans. Pelicans are struggling down the stretch here. They don't have Zion Williamson. I think Sacramento will win that game. On the Eastern Conference side, Miami Heat against the Chicago Bulls. The Heat will not have Jimmy Butler. He suffered a knee injury kind of early on in that game against Philly. He ended up hurting his knee. He didn't come out of the game. Jimmy Butler is as tough as it gets. He's got to really be hurt for him not to play, obviously. But he obviously, it clearly hampered them after the game. He said, I felt like there are certain things like I wasn't able to do. Right after the game, as the teams went to the locker room after they shook hands after the game, you could see Jimmy Butler was still limping, and this happened in the second quarter. And he had an MRI. He's got an MCL injury that's going to keep him out multiple weeks. So he's not going to play in this game. Because the Bulls are not very good. I mean, they're the 9th seed for a reason. They only had 39 wins. But I am going to take them to win this game. Jimmy Butler is the engine that makes the Heat go. I know the Bulls are horrible defensively. Obviously, Erik Spoelstra is the best coach. At least the second best coach in the NBA. He's definitely the best coach in the playoffs with the Spurs and Rakovic not in the playoffs, obviously. One of the greatest coaches of all time, obviously. He seems to get the most out of, rosters that, on paper seem like they're, bound to not even get out of the first round. Obviously, last year wasn't 8 seed, kind of the same thing. Last year they went in as the 8. And you lose to Atlanta in the first round. and you barely scrape past the Chicago Bulls in the second playing round. You think, all right, they're going to get slapped by Milwaukee, end up winning in 5 games, obviously, and going on an incredible run all the way to the NBA Finals. It's kind of showing up just to be just like that. You lose to Philly in the first playing round, and now you're playing the Bulls in the second playing round. If they can get past them, now you'll play the Boston Celtics, who you would think, all right, they should not win that series whatsoever. Boston is loaded, the best team in basketball, the favorite to win the NBA championship. But just, I don't see it this year with them. They don't have the same depth that they had last year. And Jimmy Butler being out, the one game he missed last year was game 2 in second round against the Knicks, and they lost in a close game, but did lose. So they're obviously not the same team without him. And the Bulls are really bad defensively, but also you look at the offensive threat. It's Tyler Hero, who's very inconsistent. He was not great against Philly. He was just 9-27. He, first 3 quarters, he really, really struggled. He only had like 9 points. He kind of came out a little bit in the fourth quarter, but still overall didn't have a great night. That shot he took late in that fourth quarter was not a good shot. I think they were down like 2 or 3 points late in that game. You have Bam Adebayo, who's he helps you get some points in the paint, but he's not going to hurt you from behind the 3-point line. Other than that, I guess Duncan Robinson, he had a better year than he had the last couple of years. He's obviously a guy who can shoot, who's a good catch and shoot guy, but not really a guy that's going to create your own shot. And that's going to scare you when it comes to shot creation. Kobe White just had a big game. He had a career year. Obviously, you got Zach LaVine, you got DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Miami's very good defensively. They always are with Spoelstra. Look at the team that they've built, but Jimmy Butler is also a big part of that. So I'll take the Bulls to sneak by. But the Atlanta Hawks losing in the play-in, I think it's time to break that team up. I'd be shocked if Dejounte Murray is on the team next year. I've heard him connected to maybe the Miami Heat. That would be a perfect fit. They need a guard that can score. They've struggled offensively these last couple of years. That's what's kept them from winning a championship to me. That'll be a very, very snug fit, if you ask me. I can see Trae getting traded as well. Trae's a great player. Now he's obviously an abysmal defender, but incredible shooter, got incredible range, great scorer, really good passer too. He's giving you 25 and 10 assists at least every night, not 30 and 10 assists every night. He's a great player. I wish he defended a little bit more, but he's a great player, and I think it's time to explode that team. It's not working. The Murray and Young backcourt hasn't worked, and it's never going to. So that is the play-in so far. Shout out to Caitlin Clark. She's getting an 8-figure deal from Nike. Apparently they sold out of like every size of her jersey within an hour. You saw Tim McGraw, the country music star, was at his concert, was wearing a Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever jersey. So shout out to Caitlin Clark, for helping women's basketball get all the attention that she's brought to it. Getting the 8-figure deal, which is going to be a lot more than her actual contract is. And obviously her jersey sales are going crazy, so shout out to her. And the BYU Cougars, they have found their new head basketball coach is going to be Kevin Young, is the assistant coach to the Phoenix Suns. It's a 7-year deal worth $30 million. I think it's a really good opportunity for Kevin Young. He's been an assistant in the NBA for a little while. He's been the top assistant in Phoenix. He's top assistant in Phoenix here. He's done some head coach interviews in recent years. This past year, he was a finalist for the Brooklyn Nets job that ended up going to Jordi Fernandez from the Sacramento Kings. But I think it's a good opportunity for him if he can, possibly get this BYU team to go on a bit of a run. BYU basketball, I think they have the most tournament appearances without a Final Four appearances with 31. So even if he doesn't get into a Final Four, if he can at least, get into a couple of games after they lose in the first round to an 11 seed Duquesne this year, he might be a hot name for in NBA coaching circles in the next couple of years, which he already is. And if that proves he can do as a head coach at the college level, if they're proving he can do it as an assistant coach in the NBA, the next step will definitely be a head coach in the NBA. NHL playoffs is getting ready to start, so that'll be exciting. But we're talking basketball today. I'm going to do my pretender and contender in each conference. I was going to have a guest for this, but I decided I'm just going to do it myself. So I'm going to do a contender and a pretender in each conference. I'm going to pick teams that aren't super obvious. Like I was saying, oh, the Boston Celtics, so all the New York Knicks, some of the Knicks fans. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take, probably like a sneaky contender in each conference and a pretender in each conference. Team has like another higher seed. They might have a lot of hype, but I don't see it. I'll start in the Eastern Conference. My contender, I'm actually going to go with the Orlando Magic. I like this team a lot. They're obviously very young. But Paulo Banchero, he is really underrated, absolute stud. I believe he was an all-star, and he definitely deserved it. He is a great player. There's a lot of young pieces over there, with Franz Wagner and Anthony Black. There's so many guys. Even Jalen Suggs hasn't quite been the guy. But Cole Anthony, I think is pretty good. It's in the offseason if they make a move, but they're a team. I could see them beating Cleveland in the first round. And then in the second round, they'd play Boston. If Milwaukee beat Indiana, they'd play Boston. I think they could push Boston. I don't think they could beat Boston, but I think they could push them to like a 6th game. And then if they play the Knicks, I think the Knicks would beat them. But again, they could push the Knicks to a 6 for a 7th game. This is a very good basketball team. Jamal Mosley's done a really good job. They're my sneaky contender in the Eastern Conference. My pretender, to me, it's the Milwaukee Bucks. Look, they're 2 games under 500 since Doc Rivers took over. It's with Giannis, Damian Lillard, and Chris Middleton should easily clear 50 wins, and they did not. They should probably clear 55 wins at that point, even push 60. Boston won 64. They should be much closer to 64 than they were to 50. Just not good enough. They're not good defensively. And now, apparently, Giannis might miss the first couple of games. Like, Indiana, they are horrible defensively. Halliburton kind of slowed down after he was, on pace to be first-team All-NBA in the first half. He'll still be at least second or third-team All-NBA, but he's slowed down a little bit. Still a phenomenal player, obviously. And they got a lot of young guys, Ben Mathurin and Aaron Nemhard, Jarace Walker. You got a bunch of young guys. Halliburton's obviously a great point guard. Pascal Siakam, getting him to trade deadline was huge. He's obviously a big piece. Obviously, he's won a championship before. He's a great player. Miles Turner is a very good player. I think an underrated big man that Indiana's had for a while now. So I'm very excited to see what they do in the playoffs. If I'm hearing Giannis might not be able to the back part of the series, so he misses the first couple of games, Indiana can jump out on top. Kind of like last year. So, Giannis goes down in game 1. They lose that. Without him in game 2, they lose again. All of a sudden, they're down 2-0. But they go back home. They're up to steal a game without him. But then, he comes back and then they lose the next 2. And he lose to an 8 seed in Miami in 5 games. Obviously, Miami had an incredible run. Jimmy Butler had a historically great series. He had 57 in one of those games. He was averaging almost 40, over 40 points a game, shooting the lights out. But so they should have won that series. They could be on an upset alert that they've just been very, very, very fraudulent. And I don't think they have to suck around. I think the Knicks would beat them in a 7-game series. I'm not even sure if it goes to a 7th game. Giannis is incredible, but he's not going to be 100%. Dame obviously has been great in the playoffs, but none of that. Chris Middleton, I like him, but the last couple years he hasn't been as great as he was. A couple years ago when he was a big part of a championship team. And they still have the same depth. The Damian Lillard trade kind of killed their depth. They're not good defensively. The best case scenario, especially if Giannis is out multiple games in this series, they maybe can squeeze past Indiana in 6 or 7 games. They should probably win 4 or 5, and they'll lose the Knicks in 6 games. And Doc Rivers, wants to get to the second round. Just, he doesn't know what he's doing. And that's the kind of thing. The Knicks could go down 3-1. I could be like, you know what? I'm getting worried, but I think they can do it because it's Doc Rivers. He loves blowing leads. That's my contender and pretender in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, I'm also Denver Nuggets. Kind of obvious, boring, doesn't make for great content. So my contender in the Western Conference is the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's still not being the most flashy answers, they're 1 seed, but I just look at the Western Conference. This team is so good. They're probably the only team in the playoffs that can confidently run 10 guys in their rotation in the postseason. Most teams don't do that. Most guys, Most teams will run like 9, 10, 11 guys, maybe 12 in the regular season. Then they'll run like 7 or 8 in the playoffs. They can run 10 consistently in the postseason. They're extremely deep. They can shoot the ball. They're incredible defensively. Obviously, a very, very young team. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP of the National Basketball Association. He had an incredible year, averaging 27 points a game. You know, he's got a really young team that we did not think would take this big of a step. Had them as the 1 seed in the Western Conference. They are absolutely incredible. A lot of times, there's one team every year in the NBA that, was really young, but, takes a step forward in the regular season, a bigger step than we thought. We're like, oh, wow, this team is so good. They could go to the conference finals. And they end up, losing early on in the playoffs because of experience. We saw it last year with the Sacramento Kings. We thought this team, they should be the Golden State Warriors. Warriors are the same. The Warriors came in on the road. Then they played Memphis in the second round. Memphis we weren't sold on because all stuff going on with Ja, and they had injuries, and they were that experience themselves. But obviously, ended up losing to Golden State in the first round. So it could happen, but I could see this team definitely going to the conference finals. I don't think that could be Denver, but I do think they'll be in the conference final. This team is just so freaking good. Mark Danielle, who, he looks like he's 20 years old. Looks like he's my age, but he's obviously one of the better young coaches in basketball. He's done a really good job. And they got a really good young squad, really deep. They can shoot the lights out. They're incredible defensively. This is a great, great team. My pretender in the Western Conference, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think they're losing in the first round. This team is old. They're ancient. Kawhi is getting a little older. Apparently he's got a knee problem. So I don't think he's going to be 100%. Paul George, obviously that 1 year where he was playoff P, that might have been maybe the year before the bubble or was in the bubble. Obviously, he was absolutely horrible in that playoff. He's been a little bit better the last couple of years, but still hasn't been consistent for a guy who's a perennial all-star. Is supposed to be a superstar and, the star player. Russell Westbrook is horrible in the playoffs. James Harden's horrible in the playoffs. This team is old. I think Tyler is an overrated coach. I think he's an okay coach, but nothing more than that. They'll go away with the championship. All right, come on. Get LeBron James in his prime. Come on. Plus, he had Kyrie Irving in his prime. He had Kevin Love on that team. Come on. If Draymond didn't kick a dude in the nuts, he would have Golden State won that series in 5 games. Come on. If you want a championship. LeBron won that title. Come on. I don't even like LeBron. I'm the biggest LeBron hater out there besides Skip Bayless. Even I can admit that LeBron won that championship. Come on now. He's done nothing with the Clippers. Every year this team is so overhyped, and they go into the playoffs and like, oh, they're going to make some noise. They got Kawhi, who obviously has a historic run with Toronto in 2019. He's the only guy, I think, to win. I think he's one of the only guys to win Finals MVP with 2 different teams. I don't know if LeBron has done it. Outside LeBron and Kawhi, I'm not sure if anyone else has ever done it. He's absolutely incredible in the playoffs, but he's getting older. He's got a knee problem. My first couple of games, Kawhi was going off. The Clippers went up 2-0, and then he gets hurt, and then missed the rest of the series, and then they end up losing in the first round. I can see that happening again, and also they're playing Dallas. They're playing really, really well. Luka's obviously incredible. You got Kyrie Irving, who had a really good year. He's healthy. He stayed out of trouble this year. You get some other guys as well, like Daniel Gafford's been a big pickup at the trade deadline. Derek Lively there has had a good rookie season, so I think they're losing that series. They're just old, overhyped, and also it's the Clippers. What can go wrong will go wrong. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.